There's a quiet kind of heartbreak that doesn't scream, it hums. You hear it in the click of your heels, echoing through an empty lobby, in the sound of a phone that never rings. Some birthdays don't end with candles. Some end with silence so thick it almost feels alive. My heels click against the polished marble of my apartment building's lobby, each step a reminder that I'm the last one leaving the office again. The city outside glows with a metallic dusk, 1,000 windows lit up like tiny parties I'll never be invited to. 14 hours of work behind me, another contract won, another client smiling, another day where success means going home to an empty apartment. When the elevator doors close, my reflection stares back at me. Quinn Edwards, 32, senior PR executive, lipstick faded, exhaustion worn like perfume. Today is my birthday. I tell myself it doesn't matter, that grown women with six-figure salaries and sleek apartments don't need balloons or cake or candles. But there's a small, traitorous ache just beneath my ribs that whispers otherwise. My phone screen glows. 0 messages. 0 calls. I almost laugh. I even rehearsed pretending surprise if someone had remembered. The elevator hums its way up to the 12th floor, soft jazz leaking from hidden speakers, as if mocking the quiet. Inside my apartment, everything is clean and curated: mid-century sofa, glass coffee table, the soft scent of eucalyptus. And yet, the silence greets me like a memory I can't shake. On the table sits a small cake I bought myself that morning. Vanilla frosting, one candle standing at attention like a soldier awaiting orders that won't come. "Happy birthday to me," I whisper. The words feel foreign, like someone else's script. I light the candle anyway. The flame flickers for a moment, reflected in the black glass of the window, surrounded by the city's indifferent lights. For a heartbeat, I almost believe this tiny ritual matters. Then the flame trembles and dies, leaving a faint curl of smoke that smells like sugar and regret. I drop my heels beside the couch and sink into the cushions. The ticking of the wall clock seems louder than usual, marking the minutes of a day everyone else has forgotten. I tell myself to open my laptop, check one last proposal, bury myself in the one thing that never disappoints: work. But my fingers have a mind of their own, typing facebook.com. The first photo on my feed freezes me. Miles, my brother. Champagne glass raised high, surrounded by smiling faces. The caption reads, "Congratulations on your promotion, Miles. So proud of you." Behind him hangs a banner printed in gold, celebrating our star. The timestamp? 4 hours ago, my birthday. My father's arm is draped around him. My mother stands beside them, radiant with pride. My Aunt Carol's in the background, holding a slice of cake. There are balloons, music, people I haven't seen in years, all gathered to celebrate my brother on my day. My hands tremble as I scroll. Each picture feels like a blade. My family didn't forget my birthday. They just decided someone else's achievement was more important. The realization lands heavy, familiar, and sharp. It isn't new, just newly undeniable. I remember being 11, sitting alone in a restaurant, a candle burning down and a slice of melting cake while my family raced to Miles's debate competition. The waiter had asked if I wanted the candle lit again, and I said no, thank you, pretending I was fine. At 17, I spent my birthday weekend at Grandma's while my parents toured Yale with Miles. "It's his future, Quinn," Dad had said, eyes already on his son's horizon. And at 22, my college graduation, my father had toasted Miles's engagement instead. My honors degree had been an afterthought. "It's just advertising, Quinn," he said years later, dismissing the PR campaign that made me the youngest senior executive in Horizon's history. The ache inside me tightens. It's not even pain anymore, it's muscle memory. I close the laptop, but the reflection in the screen lingers me, sitting in an empty apartment with a cake that no one will eat, wearing success like armor that's starting to crack. For a long moment, I just sit there, staring at the soft glow of the city, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator and the beating of my own pulse. Then I whisper, "Maybe this time I'll stop pretending." Because deep down, something has shifted. Not in the world, but in me. The next morning, sunlight slices through my blinds, too sharp, too clean for the heaviness in my chest. The cake from last night still sits on the coffee table, the frosting sagging slightly, the candle leaning like it, 2, is tired of trying. I should throw it away, but I don't. It feels like evidence. I make coffee the way I always do. 2 scoops, splash of oat milk, silence, but even the machine sputters louder than usual. Maybe because I'm listening for something else, for that ringtone that never came. Nothing. When I finally check my phone, the only new message is from my bank. Performance bonus deposited, $82,000. The number glows on the screen like a secret. For a moment, I stare at it, stunned. $82,000, the price of my sleepless nights, my 2 a.m. revisions, my blood pressure, that hums like static. I earned that. And then the bitterness hits. Funny how a bank remembers me before my own family does. I pour the coffee, sit at the window, and watch Chicago wake up. Cars slide along Lakeshore Drive, people with somewhere to be, someone to see. I used to imagine birthdays like this meant something special, that maybe one year, they'd surprise me, that the years of forgetting would end. But patterns don't end. They repeat until someone breaks them. A flashback unspools behind my eyelids. I'm 11 again, sitting at a restaurant table, set for 5, waiting. The waiter brings out a tiny chocolate cake with 1 candle. I remember how the wax pooled into frosting as the clock hit 9. "They'll be here soon," I'd told him. They weren't. He brought me a soda on the house. That was my party. Then 17. The suitcase by the door, the birthday card left unsigned. "Grandma misses you," Mom had said, eyes sliding toward Miles's Yale brochure. He got into Yale. I got a sweater from Grandma that said, "Love yourself first." It took me 15 years to understand she meant it literally. And then, 22. My graduation dinner turned engagement celebration. The clinking of glasses for him, not me. I remember smiling until my cheeks ached, then going home to cry into my pillow while my diploma sat unopened on the dresser. The memories feel like little paper cuts, each small, but together, they sting. I pull out my laptop, meaning to distract myself with work, but my inbox blinks with new mail. Subject: "Congratulations on your outstanding performance." I open it. My supervisor Lawrence Chen wrote, "You've outdone yourself again, Quinn. This bonus is just the beginning." Just the beginning. I'm still rereading that line when my phone rings. The screen lights up. "Mom." My heart stutters. Maybe, just maybe, she remembered. Maybe there's a belated happy birthday waiting on the other end. "Hello?" I say, trying not to sound hopeful. "Quinn, darling, I'm so glad I caught you." Her voice bubbles through the line, light, breezy. "Listen, we're planning something small for Miles and Jessica's anniversary next month, and I was hoping you could help out. Nothing major, just the catering and decorations. You're so good at that sort of thing." I stare at the wall, the clock, the forgotten cake. "Mom, today was my birthday." A pause. Then a soft, startled laugh. "Oh, honey, with Miles's big promotion, it just slipped our minds." Slipped. Like a calendar date, like an appointment, like me. The silence stretches until she fills it again. "Anyway, you'll help, won't you? It would mean a lot to the family." I almost say yes because that's what I do. I keep the peace, patch the holes, make everyone comfortable. But something inside me hardens instead. "Don't worry about it, Mom," I say, voice steadier than I feel. "I understand what's important to this family." And for the first time in my life, I truly do. After she hangs up, the apartment feels even emptier. I turn the candle upright, strike a match, and watch the tiny flame come alive again. This time I let it burn all the way down, wax dripping onto the glass. It feels like a small funeral for the girl who kept waiting to be seen. Later that night, I open my notebook and start listing expenses, ideas, possibilities. Not for them, for me. A home fund, maybe. A trip, something that's mine. The kind of gift no one can forget because no one else gives it. The clock ticks toward midnight, steady and merciless. Tomorrow will look the same: emails, meetings, deadlines. But something fundamental has shifted. The old Quinn would swallow the hurt, smile at the next family dinner, pretend everything was fine. This Quinn lights the candle, blows it out herself, and whispers, "Never again." 4 days later, I'm sitting in my glass-walled office, the Chicago skyline burning gold against the horizon. The city always looks richest at dusk, like it's daring you to believe you belong among its glittering towers. For once, I almost do. The week has been brutal but productive. 2 new clients signed on. One called me a miracle worker. I should feel triumphant. Instead, there's a knot in my chest that coffee can't dissolve. Maybe it's the silence still stretching between me and my family. Maybe it's the faint memory of my mother's voice saying, "It just slipped our minds." My laptop pings a notification from the Edwards family group chat. That's new. I didn't even know I was added to it until now. I click out of curiosity, expecting vacation photos or another brag about Miles's promotion. Instead, the first message I see stops me cold. Dad, Quinn should contribute significantly to Miles and Jessica's anniversary gift, at least $20,000. 20,000. I scroll. Mom, she just got that big bonus. Time she supports the family for once. There it is, support the family. The phrase they use when they want something. I lean back, letting the words blur, the skyline warping in the reflection of my screen. Support the family. The same family that never once showed up for me. For a long moment, I just sit there, staring at the messages as if they might rearrange themselves into something kinder. But they don't. Even my name misspelled. Quinn with 1 N. My own mother can't even spell my name right. The hurt burns into something else, something clean and sharp. Jennifer pokes her head into my office just then, curls bouncing, coffee in hand. You've been staring at your screen for 10 minutes. Did someone die? I manage a laugh that sounds more like an exhale. Just a different kind of funeral. She steps inside, setting the coffee down. Talk to me. I turn my laptop toward her. She scans the thread, her frown deepening with every line. 20 grand? For his party? Are they serious? They always are, I say quietly. Apparently, I've been living rent-free in their disappointment for too long. Jennifer crosses her arms, eyes flashing. Quinn, that's insane. You're the one who built yourself from nothing. You put yourself through grad school. They should be throwing you a party. I smile faintly. Apparently, I'm better at planning them than receiving them. She shakes her head. You know what this is, right? Emotional blackmail in pearls and cufflinks. Her words land with a strange kind of comfort. For the first time, someone sees what I've been living with. Before I can respond, there's a soft knock at the door. Lawrence Chen, our CEO, steps in impeccable as always in his charcoal suit. He hands me a folder. Quinn, the Westfield campaign results are in. 41% increase in revenue. The board's thrilled. My breath catches. 41%. He smiles. This is why I fought for your bonus. You've earned every cent. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I nod, barely able to form words. Thank you, Lawrence. After he leaves, Jennifer whistles low. See? That's what real recognition looks like. Her words linger as I turn back to my computer. On one screen, my professional world, where my work is valued, measured, rewarded. On the other, my family chat, where I'm reduced to an ATM with lipstick. My phone buzzes again. A new message from Miles. Hey sis, need your help. Can you connect me with Regentech's marketing director? Big opportunity for my firm. Family helping family. I stare at the winking emoji until my vision blurs. Family helping family. The phrase that now sounds like a joke with a cruel punchline. I type back, let me see what I can do. Then delete it. Then type again. I'll think about it. Then delete that too. Instead, I call Jennifer over once more. You know Regentech's team, right? Sure, she says. Why? I smile without humor. Apparently my brother does too, through me. Her eyebrows shoot up. Wait, he's been using your work contacts? 3rd time this month. Jennifer mutters something under her breath that would make HR frown. Quinn, this isn't a family issue anymore. This is professional boundary violation. I close my laptop slowly, feeling something shift inside me again. The part of me that always gives, always forgives, always folds, she's dying quietly, and I'm not grieving her. Instead, I look out at the Chicago skyline. The glass towers reflect the sunset in molten gold, like the city itself is reminding me. You built this life. You don't owe anyone an explanation for surviving. When I get home that night, the apartment feels different. Not smaller, not lonelier, just mine. I pour a glass of wine, open my laptop again, and scroll past the family thread. It's still there, waiting like a spider web. But this time, I don't step into it. I open Zillow instead. The search bar blinks. Lakefront property, Michigan. I don't know why I type it. Maybe because something inside me wants air, wants space, wants silence that doesn't hurt. And for the first time, I let myself imagine a life where I don't have to ask to be celebrated. The Edwards mansion on Lakeshore Drive always looked like something out of an architectural magazine. 3 stories of gray stone and inherited pride. Every window polished until it reflected the sky, every hedge trimmed to military precision. But standing at the gate that Saturday evening, I realized I'd never really seen it before, not as home. More like a museum dedicated to everything I was never allowed to touch. I pause before ringing the bell. The air smells of manicured roses and money, sterile, perfect, distant. A part of me still wants to turn back, to keep peace like I always do. But another part, the part that's learning to breathe on its own, pushes forward. The door opens before I can knock twice. "Quinn!" My mother beams, pearls glinting against her neck. "You made it! Miles and Jessica just arrived." Her perfume hits me, floral and overdone. She kisses the air beside my cheek, not quite making contact. Inside, everything is exactly as it's always been. Marble floors, piano untouched except for holidays, portraits of Miles in every hallway. The only picture of me is a framed one from high school, tucked behind a vase. I let my gaze linger on it for a heartbeat. A ghost of a girl smiling too hard. In the living room, Miles stands beside the fireplace, glass of scotch in hand. Jessica perches elegantly beside him, diamond earrings flashing under the chandelier. Dad sits in his leather chair like a judge presiding over an unending trial. Dinner begins the same way every family dinner does, with Dad talking, Mom agreeing, and me trying not to disappear. Miles is halfway through describing a deal he's closing when Dad cuts in, voice booming with authority. "Well done, son. The Edwards legacy is in good hands." He doesn't look at me when he says it. He never does. I push salmon around my plate, waiting. I know it's coming, the real reason for this invitation. The air hums with it. Finally, Dad clears his throat and sets down his coffee cup. The silver spoon clinks against the china like a starting bell. "Quinn," he says, "we need to discuss your contribution to Miles and Jessica's anniversary celebration." There it is. My fork stills midair. I meet his gaze, calm, polite. "My contribution? 20,000 should cover the venue and catering," he continues, in the same tone he'd used to discuss stock options. "Given your recent windfall, it seems appropriate." Across the table, Mom nods approvingly. "Family supports family, darling." I inhale slowly. Family supports family. The phrase lands like a stone in my stomach. I look at them, all of them, and something inside me finally breaks, quietly but decisively. "I can't," I say. Dad blinks, as though the word doesn't compute. "I beg your pardon? I can't contribute $20,000. My voice is steady, even soft. I have other plans for it. A silence stretches across the table, thick and uneasy. Even Jessica's hand freezes halfway to her wineglass. Dad leans forward, eyes narrowing. "What other plans could possibly take precedence over your brother's celebration?" I meet his gaze. "My future." Mom gasps softly, hand flying to her chest. "After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me?" The words are out before I can stop them, sharp and honest. Her lips tremble. "We gave you everything." I let out a small, humorless laugh. "No. You gave Miles everything. I just learned how to live without it." Dad rises, chair scraping against hardwood, his height filling the room like a storm cloud. "I will not tolerate ingratitude in this house." "Then maybe I shouldn't be in it," I say quietly. Mom's voice breaks. "Quinn, please, don't make a scene." The irony of that hits me harder than his anger ever could. My whole life has been one long performance to keep their scene going. I push back my chair and stand. I'm not making a scene. I'm ending one. My heart hammers against my ribs as I pick up my purse. The air in the room feels heavier, thicker, like years of silence suddenly have weight. Miles shifts uncomfortably, glancing between us. For a second, I think he might say something. He doesn't. I walk to the door, my heels echoing down the hallway that once led to my childhood bedroom. Mom calls my name, her voice trembling, but I don't turn around. When I step outside, the night air hits like a baptism, cool, sharp, cleansing. The front door closes behind me with a quiet click that sounds like finality. In the car, my hands are shaking, but not from fear, from relief. For the first time in my life, I've said no. I drive without thinking, the city lights blurring past. I end up by the lake, the water black and endless under the moon. I roll down the window, breathing in the salt and wind. My reflection in the glass looks different, still me, but freer. Maybe power doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Maybe sometimes it's just one word, spoken calmly in a room that expected your silence. That night, I make a promise to myself. This is the last time I ever sit at their table feeling small. The morning after the dinner, I wake to sunlight spilling through my curtains, soft, forgiving, undeserved. For a few seconds I lie still, half expecting regret to creep in, whispering that I'd gone too far. It doesn't. Instead, there's quiet, a kind of stillness I've never known before. I brew my coffee slowly, watching the steam rise like ghosts from the cup. My phone vibrates on the counter, 5 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Dad. I flip it face down. The silence that follows feels sacred. But peace never lasts long in my family. By Tuesday, the calls become a pattern. Every morning at 7:15, like clockwork. Mom's voice, syrupy and fragile, floats through the speaker even when I don't answer. When I finally pick up on Thursday, she doesn't even say hello. "Quinn, sweetheart," she begins, the tone she uses when she's half pleading, half scolding. "This rebellious phase needs to end. Your father hasn't slept properly since that dinner." I stare at my reflection in the kitchen window, phone pressed to my ear. My own face looks foreign, calm, composed, unmoved. "I'm not rebellious, Mom," I say softly. "I'm 32. She exhales sharply. "Then why are you breaking our hearts? After everything we've sacrificed for you." The words hit a nerve I thought had healed. I close my eyes. "What exactly have you sacrificed for me?" A stunned silence. Then, "How can you ask that? We gave you everything." I want to laugh, but it catches in my throat. "I have a meeting. I need to go." I hang up before she can summon another performance of tears. At work that afternoon, the glass walls of Horizon PR gleam in the midday Sunday. The lobby buzzes with clients and interns, polished smiles and brisk steps. It's a temple of order and my sanctuary. Until the front doors open, and chaos walks in wearing a $2,000 suit. My father. Even from across the room, he commands attention. People move instinctively, parting for him like he's royalty. His silver hair gleams, his cologne cuts through the air. My pulse stumbles. Jennifer catches my eye from her desk and mouths code red. I meet him halfway, before he can reach my office, plastering on the calm professionalism that's second nature to me. "Dad, this is my workplace." "One more reason to act like a professional," he says, voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. "Professionals honor their family obligations. People are watching." I motion toward a small meeting room, guiding him inside. The door shuts with a soft click, sealing us in. He doesn't sit. "Of course not," he paces. "Your mother hasn't stopped crying. Is that what you wanted? To punish us because we missed one birthday?" My nails bite into my palm. "Try 20 years of them." He turns, eyes narrowing. "You always exaggerate." Then, dismissively, "Miles deserves our support. 20,000 from your bonus is more than fair." The words that used to make me shrink now make me stand taller. "I don't owe you my bonus," I say evenly. "I earned that. You didn't." His nostrils flare. "You're sounding ungrateful again." "Grateful for what?" I ask. "For being invisible?" He checks his watch, signaling impatience, like this conversation is an interruption to his greatness. "This discussion isn't finished, Quinn." "Actually," I say, hand on the door, "it is." I walk out before he can reply, his reflection still trapped in the glass like a portrait of the man I'll never become. 3 hours later, I'm back in the boardroom, standing before the executive team, laser pointer in hand. voice clear and unshaken. The Westridge crisis meeting has begun. Halfway through, Lawrence leans forward, eyes sharp, impressed. "Quinn," he says, "that was extraordinary work. You just saved a $3 million account." The room breaks into quiet applause. My heart lifts, not from pride, but from relief. Because here, my worth isn't debated. It's measured, seen, and respected. Afterward, Jennifer catches me in the hallway, grin wide. "See? This is the family you actually built." Her words land deep. Family isn't who you're born to, it's who claps when you win. When I return to my desk, my phone buzzes again. "Miles. Miles, Mom's crying every night because of you. Fix this. Fix this." I stare at the words until my eyes sting. Fixing things has been my full-time job since I was old enough to understand that love in our house was conditional. I always cleaned the messes, smoothed the conflicts, carried the guilt that wasn't mine. But I'm done being their glue. I mute the family chat, set the phone face down, and look out the window at the sunset blazing across the skyline. The city hums with its usual pulse, but tonight it feels different, alive, like it's urging me to move. For the first time, I realize that home isn't supposed to drain you. It's supposed to restore you. That night, sitting cross-legged on my bed, laptop open, I whisper the words like a spell. Lakefront property, Michigan. Dozens of listings appear. One catches my eye, a 4-bedroom cottage with wide windows and a wraparound deck overlooking the water. The photo shows sunlight scattering across the lake like melted gold. Price: $365,000. My fingers hover over the screen. I don't think, I just feel. For years I've waited for them to give me space to see me. Now, I'll give it to myself. Tomorrow, I'll call the realtor. Tonight, I'll sleep without guilt. 2 days later, I stand on a wooden deck overlooking Lake Michigan. The air smells of pine and distant rain, the kind that lingers before a storm breaks. The realtor's voice fades into the background as I take in the water, blue-gray, alive, endless. "This is the view from the master bedroom," she says, gesturing toward the open sliding doors. "The owners already moved to Arizona. They're eager to sell." I nod, hardly hearing her. My pulse hums in my ears. Sunlight glints off the waves like a secret language, whispering, "You're safe here." The house isn't grand. It's not even new. The paint is chipped near the porch rail. The shutters squeak. The kitchen tiles could use replacing, but it feels honest. Every imperfection makes it warmer, more human. "I'll take it," I hear myself say. The realtor blinks. "Don't you want to think it over? Maybe bring your family to—" "No," I smile. "This is for me." The word "me" tastes unfamiliar, like trying a new language after years of silence. Back in Chicago, my colleagues are buzzing about campaign deadlines, quarterly projections, and downtown gossip. But my mind keeps drifting to the sound of water brushing against the dock. 3 weeks later, the paperwork is done. The mortgage approved, the down payment transferred. I sign the last document in a quiet office, pen gliding across paper that feels heavier than any contract I've ever handled. Mrs. Bennett comes with me to closing, my 84-year-old neighbor who's more family than anyone who shares my blood. "You're doing the right thing, dear," she says, patting my hand. "Sometimes we have to build our own sanctuary." When the realtor hands me the keys, my fingers tremble. The metal feels warm against my palm, like it's been waiting for me all along. The following weekend, I drive north alone. The city fades into farmland, farmland into forest. With every passing mile, something inside me loosens. When I arrive, the lake house greets me like a sigh. Dust motes dance in the afternoon light as I step inside. The air smells faintly of cedar, and something older memory maybe. I start small, one room at a time. In the living room, I pull dusty sheets off the furniture, open the windows, and let the breeze rush in. The lake air fills the space, carrying the faint scent of salt and pine. I laugh out loud when a curtain flutters wildly like it's been waiting to breathe again. Days blur into evenings, paint rollers, takeout containers, and music echoing through empty rooms. I hang framed photos, moments that are mine. The Horizon campaign team clinking glasses. The magazine feature with my face in print. My college graduation photo, where my smile, for once, reaches my eyes. The walls slowly transform into proof that I've built a life worth celebrating. I splurge on one small luxury, a plush armchair by the window overlooking the lake. It becomes my favorite place, a sanctuary within a sanctuary. On the door, I hang a small wooden sign I carved myself, the birthday suite. Every time I pass it, I smile. A private joke, a quiet reclaiming. By the second weekend, the place no longer feels like someone else's house. It feels like mine, my rhythm, my breathing space. I invite the people who've actually shown up in my life. Jennifer brings a bottle of red wine and laughs as we struggle to assemble patio chairs. My boss, Lawrence, sends a congratulatory card and a bottle of vintage Cabernet. Mrs. Bennett arrives with a handmade quilt, shades of blue and green stitched like rippling water. For your bedroom, she says. Every home needs something made with love. Her words make my throat ache. We host a small housewarming that night. The grill sizzles, the lake glows gold, and laughter fills the air. No fake smiles, no hidden expectations. Just warmth, real and earned. I post a single photo. Me barefoot on the cedar deck, glass of Pinot Noir in hand, Lake Michigan behind me painted in sunset colors. Caption: Weekend at my new lake house, birthday gift to myself. Then I set my phone down and just breathe. 20 minutes later, when I finally check it, I see 17 missed calls, 32 messages, all from my mother. I silence the phone and slip it into my pocket. Not tonight. Instead, I sit in the Adirondack chair, wrapped in Mrs. Bennett's quilt, and watch the sun sink behind the water. The sky turns shades of amber and rose. For the first time, I don't feel forgotten. I feel free. The lake murmurs softly, like it's keeping my secrets. And in that moment, I realize, peace isn't quiet, it's knowing you don't owe anyone your suffering. A message arrived on a Monday morning while I was reviewing a campaign draft. It wasn't a question, it was an order. My mother wrote that there would be a family emergency meeting the next evening at 7, and that they expected me to be there. She ended it with a line that sounded more like a warning than concern. Don't make this worse than it already is. For a long moment, I stared at the screen. The old version of me would have dropped everything, terrified of being called ungrateful again. But that woman no longer existed. I replied with only one line that I would come Tuesday, not Monday, and I meant it. That night, I pulled 3 photo albums from the top of my closet. Their leather covers were worn and dusty, like forgotten witnesses waiting to testify. I had spent years avoiding them, but this time I turned each page carefully. What I found was proof of how absence can shape a person more than presence ever could. When Tuesday came, the Edwards mansion looked colder than I remembered. The lights along the driveway glowed against the stone facade, but there was no warmth behind the brightness. I walked up the granite steps carrying the albums like a shield. My father opened the door before I rang. His expression was as sharp as the lines in his tailored suit, his tone clipped as he told me I was late. I didn't bother correcting him. Inside, my mother waited in the foyer, a tissue already in her hand, her makeup carefully smudged just enough to look tragic. My brother stood behind her, glass in hand, his confidence dimmed by something that looked almost like guilt. The dining room was staged like a scene from a memory I no longer wanted. Candles flickered across the long mahogany table, the good china gleamed, and there it was again, that performance of perfection that had always buried the truth. I took my seat across from my brother, diagonal from my father, the same arrangement as every other dinner where I had swallowed my silence. They didn't waste time. The lecture began almost immediately. Words about responsibility, image, and family reputation. They said that my decision to buy a lake house had embarrassed them, that people were asking questions. They called it reckless. They said selling it would be the right thing to do. I listened quietly, watching their faces, realizing that none of this was about the house. It was about control, about keeping me in the role they'd written for me years ago. When they finally paused, waiting for my apology, I stood and placed the first album on the table. Inside were photographs of my brother at every age, smiling with birthday cakes, surrounded by gifts, standing in front of cars wrapped in ribbons, pages upon pages of celebrations. Then I opened the second album, mine, mostly blank pages. A few scattered pictures. Me at 11 with a store-bought cupcake. Me at 30, hugged by Mrs. Bennet on a small apartment balcony. The rest empty space. The room fell silent. I could feel their discomfort, but I didn't stop there. From the third album, I slid out a sheet I had printed the night before, a simple spreadsheet showing every family expense from our childhood onward, side by side. My brother's tuition, his trips, his gifts thousands, mine hundreds. I spoke calmly, explaining that numbers don't lie, that patterns speak louder than excuses. Their faces changed. My father's jaw tightened, my mother's eyes darted away. Then I unfolded a small piece of paper, yellowed from age. It was a diary entry I wrote when I was 9, in round, uneven letters. Maybe next year they'll remember my birthday without Grandma reminding them. The words hung in the air like smoke, filling every quiet corner of that perfect room. I placed one last photograph on the table, a picture of the family Christmas dinner from 3 years ago. Everyone smiling, one empty chair with my name on a card. I told them I had recognized that chair. It wasn't mine. It was the one reserved for guests. Even when they pretended I belonged, I was still an outsider in my own family. The silence that followed was almost holy. For the first time, my father didn't have words. My mother's tears were no longer rehearsed. And my brother, he looked at the photos for a long time, before whispering something I didn't need to hear. I had already heard everything in the spaces between their sentences. I gathered my purse and left the albums on the table, open and exposed. They could keep the evidence. I didn't need it anymore. As I walked out of the house, the air outside felt different, cold, sharp, clean. The door closed softly behind me, but the sound echoed like thunder in my chest. Driving away, I caught a glimpse of the mansion in the rearview mirror, glowing under the porch lights like a cathedral of denial. For once, I didn't feel like the forgotten child. I felt like the woman who had finally spoken the truth, not to be believed, but to be free. A year has passed since that night I walked out of my parents' house. 12 months of silence, therapy, rebuilding, and learning the sound of my own voice without the echo of guilt behind it. This morning, sunlight pours through the wide windows of my lake house, flooding the kitchen in gold. The air smells like coffee and fresh lilacs from the vase on the counter. The quiet is no longer lonely. It's peaceful. It's mine. Today, I turned 33. Last year, I spent this day staring at a phone that never rang, with a cake I bought myself. This year, I woke up to a counter full of messages from my team, from friends, from the people who actually show up. There's laughter waiting on my deck, not silence. Outside, my colleagues are setting up for a small party. Jennifer is directing everyone like a stage manager, insisting the champagne flutes be perfectly aligned. She's terrible at symmetry, but I let her win. Lawrence sent flowers, lilies, and white roses with a note that says, "To choosing yourself, always." I stand by the window for a while, just watching. The lake shimmers under the mid-morning sun, the same endless blue that once felt too big for me. Now, it feels like home. When guests arrive, the house fills with warmth and laughter. There are no photo ops, no expectations, no performance of family. Just people who celebrate because they want to, not because they need to appear kind. Someone toasts to my promotion, senior director at Horizon. I smile, thinking how poetic it feels that the girl who once begged for validation now signs contracts worth millions, with her name in bold at the top. The party hums with conversation and clinking glasses, but underneath it all, I feel something quieter, peace that hums like music I almost forgot existed. As the afternoon softens, a car pulls up in the driveway. It's a sound I know too well, the low growl of my brother's BMW. He steps out holding a wrapped package. There's hesitation in his eyes, the kind that comes from seeing yourself clearly for the first time. For a moment, we just look at each other not as rivals, not as the favorite and the forgotten, but as two adults finally stripped of illusions. He says he wanted to come in person, that therapy has been hard but necessary, that he sees things differently now. Then he hands me the package. Inside is a framed photo I've never seen before me at 7, on the old tire swing behind our house, laughing at something just outside the frame. My smile is wide and real. He tells me he found it in one of Dad's old boxes and had it restored. He wanted me to have proof that I existed in the story too, even when no one was looking. For a moment, my throat tightens. It's not forgiveness yet, but it's something close, a beginning, fragile but real. Later, as the sky turns honey-colored, another car pulls into the driveway. My mother steps out slowly, holding a small bakery box. Her eyes search for mine, cautious, unsure. She says she heard about the party from miles and came on her own. She opens the box. Inside is a single cupcake with one candle, carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. She remembers it was my favorite. She doesn't say much, only that she's sorry, that she's trying. Her voice shakes when she says she doesn't expect me to forget, just hopes I'll let her show up differently. I nod. I tell her she can stay for cake if she wants. It's not reconciliation, not yet, just two women sitting on a deck at sunset, eating cake and saying nothing. But maybe silence can heal too, when it's no longer heavy with hurt. When the guests leave and the house quiets, I walk down to the dock. The lake glows with the last light of the day, and the surface mirrors the sky like glass. I bring a glass of champagne and sit with my feet in the water, watching ripples spread and disappear. For the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm waiting, not for their approval, not for their attention. I finally understand that validation isn't given. It's built, moment by moment, each time you choose yourself. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a message from Mrs. Bennett. She's back in Chicago now, but she never forgets. Did you enjoy your day, dear? I smile, typing back slowly, carefully. For the first time, I truly celebrated myself. Then I set the phone down beside me and raise my glass toward the water, toward the woman reflected in it, steady, content, no longer needing anyone else to see her to know she's real. The lake ripples softly under the fading sun, carrying my reflection into its depths. And for the first time, I feel whole.